On today's episode, Josh and I are back here to talk about Klay Thompson's return. Recording this on Monday the 10th. He returned last night against the Cavaliers. It's been way too many days, weeks, months, years. Klay's finally back, as well as another possible return. In this case, a possible Kawhi Leonard. Rumors from Bleacher Report and Shams have come out that he may be returning sometime in the next couple of months, a little bit earlier than possibly expected. We'll do a little college hoops corner and end it off with what Josh is telling me pre-recording, a very fun trivia. All that, we'll have some fun next.
Welcome back to the 2 Pointers podcast. I'm Josh.
And I'm Trevor.
And welcome back, Klay Thompson, to the NBA. Klay Thompson makes his return after some 18 months on the shelf, battling ACL and Achilles and uncertainty moving forward. And he joins a Warriors team that really couldn't really get hotter at this point. Trevor, were you as excited as it seems like everybody was that Klay Thompson's back?
I was very excited, going out of my way with all the craziness of the NFL Week 18 schedule to make sure that game was on in some form in my house. Were you more excited about that game or your Hornets beating the Bucks this weekend?
I was definitely more excited about the Hornets beating the Bucks this weekend. I mean, come on, you knock off the defending NBA champions pretty soundly. And now they got to play them again tonight. So part of one of the NBA's weird back-to-backs in the same location, but.
Yeah, a topic for another day. I'm actually kind of a fan of those. They're very weird, but they're just kind of like, they just make sense. When we first saw them on the schedule last year.
Like baseball, you play a series.
Yeah, I like it. Guys are already there and they've traveled back and forth. It's fun. Klay's return, though, just like first thoughts, I'm sitting there and I'm like, it just feels right. Like it just felt good. You go, yeah,
it was right that it's against the Cavs.
That is even funnier. I really think that was on purpose. That's definitely on purpose. But the 18 shots thing, like Klay after the game has his stat sheet in front of him. He's all, appreciative, thankful, he's saying hello to all the media. He's looking down at his stat sheet. He's like, man, it feels so good to see Steph, Draymond, Klay. I mean, he was like, feels good. He goes 18 shots in 20 minutes. Nothing's changed. Welcome back, Klay. We're really excited to
have you. How many dribbles, 5?
Probably less than that. I wanted to look at this in a funny and also like crazy kind of way. And I'll tell you why. A couple of things that have happened. I don't know if you saw this. This graphic went all over the place. It might have been brought up in some places that you might have looked, but I'm going to read you a couple of things, not just in the hoops world, but in the world that have happened since Klay played basketball last. I'm also going to give you a couple of players that played in these locations. It's wild. And then I'll ask you, the listeners know this by now, I have a question for Josh for every cool and fun segment. And this one I feel like will not disappoint. COVID-19 didn't exist last time Klay played a game of basketball. We did not know at all what it was. I'll move on. A new U.S. president was elected. So we went from one office to another in the time that Klay was previously on a basketball floor. Russell Westbrook has played for not one, not two, but 3 different franchises. For those that might not remember, the Rockets, the Wizards, and the Lakers in those 3 stints since Klay was on the floor last. That is not. He technically was on the Thunder the last time Klay was playing. The Raiders and the Warriors both left Oakland for other places, as wild as that sounds. The average gas price in San Francisco went from $3.70 a gallon to $4.65 a gallon. Kobe Bryant, unfortunately, was passed away in that time. He was still living at the time that Klay was playing. On a more positive note, Drake had 16 different number 1 songs on the hit charts in the United States. This isn't a hip hop podcast, but Drake did have 16. Like, that's a lot of songs in 2 years, or 800, 900 days, whatever ended up being 900 something days. The McRib returned to McDonald's not once but twice.
Well, they bring it back every year for like a few months. I don't feel like that one's any shock.
There was something about it hadn't consecutively returned since 2012.
Taxes and the McRib coming back. That's
right, but twice. Twice. It starts to get a little stretch here towards the end. Andre Iguodala, a famous teammate of Clay's, played 2 full seasons with the Heat and then came back to the Warriors and played before Clay returned. Just nuts in the world of just sports and the world in general since Clay last played basketball. So all that being said,
Iguodala on Golden State's roster when Clay got hurt?
He was. Yeah, in the
he
finals.
left and came back in that time.
Yeah, twice. Two different teams, or two different stints with a team. So no takeaways from that, I guess, initially. But all that being said, my question for you is honestly worth 20 minutes of the time of our time. Is Klay Thompson the most beloved athlete of all of sports? And if he isn't, then who is?
Is he the most beloved athlete?
Like, tell me right now. We all know a lot of NBA fans. You and I both do. Tell me how many of them have ever said they can't. Like, tell me right now someone you've ever met in your life that said, I don't like Klay Thompson, period. I can't.
Mm-mm.
That's where it should end, though, right? That's where it should be like, okay, if he's not, who is it? All the sports. Like, right now, tell me in another sport, a guy that's like, no matter what happens, that's a 100% PR approval. I can't tell you. I can't give you one. I spent 30 minutes trying to figure it out, at least today, not including yesterday when it was happening. I was like, this is a good thing to be said.
I'm silent because I'm just drawing a blank. I mean, like,
yeah,
everything Giannis does gets good press.
That's a good one. Giannis is a good one.
I guess I would like throw Steph Curry, but like even Curry occasionally gets like criticism and bad press that Klay never gets.
He has fans because he's so big and of other teams that he's beaten and things like Klay never gets that because he's not Steph. He's not Steph's level, right? He's not this 2-time MVP. He's not that level, right? He's not, I'm not saying he's not that, but he doesn't get the flack that Steph would, or like a LeBron would, or like a Giannis would. Giannis is a good one though. Like, that's why I bring it up. I extend that to say, like, any other sports that I can forget or think of. It's like, I can't think of anybody in football. Like, if I had to give you one, maybe it would be Peyton Manning. And I was going to extend to, if you don't tell me one now, if you don't have one now, like, we can go all time. Like, Clay's got to be in that top 5 or top 10. He has to be. I can't think of any in any other sport, like baseball, even like David Ortiz isn't up there.
Poppy would
for
be
Red Sox fans. He is for Red Sox fans. He is for sure.
I mean, honestly, do Yankees fans hate like Ortiz like as a person? Or is just
that's the thing. I don't know, and I think that's why Klay has the advantage. I think Klay has the advantage across all of fandom.
Yeah, my thing going baseball. I mean, maybe Trout, but his name's not as big as Klay. Mike Trout doesn't get negative press; he only gets positive, but he also just doesn't get that much press.
He should be as big, to be clear. He might be one of the greatest baseball players of all time, and he's not.
Oh, he is. He's probably top 10.
Yeah, which is nuts, right? It's like
the rest of the team just isn't good. Like,
how is Klay? How is Clay's PR higher than Mike Trout? Like, I know it's not an easy parallel,
and he's not the guy.
Yeah, it's tough. It's one of those things. Like, we could.
You got to not be the guy. That's one of the big things.
But Giannis is a good one.
That one's interesting because, I can't think of a time where, even when people like go after Giannis for his slow free throw routine, which has got to be the only thing that he really gets attacked for.
Twitter loved it.
Like, because Giannis makes fun of his own free throw routine. People just love him more for it. Because he makes fun of himself. He knows that that's hilarious.
I mean, the Suns fans were literally...
I think he, like, watching that Hornets-Bucks games, I think he went like 10 for 11 from the free throw line. It clearly works.
Oh, there's no shadow of a doubt that I believe he got better in the offseason of free throw shooting. But the thing with, like, even Suns fans were joking, like, in the arenas, they're counting him through the free throw routine. It was nuts. It was hilarious. Again, this is the other reason I want to ask this question, is because I think it needs to be extended to the fans, to the listeners. I want to know between now and next Monday or Wednesday, I guess technically. I want to know an answer. I want an answer if Klay right now to me has the title. Give him the crown. He is the number 1 PR guy in all of sports right now. No bad press. Always happy-go-lucky. People love him. The video, like, you should have seen the photos on Twitter, like, of him, like, on the boats and stuff after he recovered from the second one. Like, he's just having the time of his life. And he's, by the way, getting paid his contract will be up into the 40, 45, $48 million range by the time that Warriors contract ends. So he's just beloved inside and out. Look, last minute, is there any other one before we move on?
No, I've got nothing.
No, I don't either.
I wanted to disagree with you when you said that, and then I was like, oh, I can't come up with it.
I knew it was bold. I sat here earlier today and I said, this is a bold statement. But then I went, I don't think it actually is. I talked myself through it. I was like,
I really think the closest thing in the NBA is Giannis, but even then, I don't think he is.
I tried to go through the NFL, but there's just too many guys right now. If we're talking just right now, there's too many young guys in the NFL, and there's too many guys that are on teams that division rivals hate. Say your Big Bens of the world, et cetera, like where it's like, these guys they should have been retired 3 years ago. They're on the way out, but the Ravens fans still hate them, probably Browns fans, whatever. So I tried, and I can't wait to hear everyone's thoughts on Twitter at 2-pointers. This is my plug and promo I told I would give in the first 15 minutes. At 2-pointers on Twitter, where you can give us your thoughts. Twitter, I said already. Instagram at the 2-pointers podcast. TikTok as well at the same at. Our websites. Always up there and ready to get you all to those places, www.the2pointerspodcast.com. And I'm forgetting something, Josh. Oh, Facebook, of course, Facebook, the lovely fun in Facebook, facebook.com/2pointerspodcast. That's a long-winded thing to say. We love you, Klay, and can't wait to hear if there's anybody that can take the crowd.
Well, that being said, we're happy Klay's back, but we will see how his return affects Golden State moving forward. So Kawhi Leonard is supposedly on his way back early for a guy who partially tore his ACL to some extent that we weren't given much clarity upon in June of last year. He's maybe going to come back in a month or two, which I guess that's about a 9-month recovery period. Yeah, it's a weird situation. It's kind of a Kawhi the Clippers had faded from purview, to be honest, with honestly not playing that well when Paul George was there, and now with Paul George injured, the Clippers just really aren't in the conversation most of the time. Where are we at with if Kawhi comes back, and how strong is he going to be, I think becomes the question.
Yeah, the Kawhi thing is weird. I thought of it one way, and I went, okay, this is the same Kawhi that, whether it be to get out of San Antonio or not, he was very, very, very careful after that injury in San Antonio a few years ago. So I thought maybe we get the same approach. They just completely punt on this year. They go for the final year of his contract, just go for the championship, do what they need to do in the offseason, understand where they are flexibility-wise with the cap. He has I believe it's a player option after next year. So it's one of those situations where he understands that would be kind of the final punt the final play or final go for it under that contract. I just am not ACLs are doable. Like, we know that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not sure this roster's perfectly set up, but also though, this is the same team that, not necessarily the exact same team, but team that made the Western Conference Finals for the first time in team history last year. So yes, this team
kicking and screaming by Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, dragged completely and utterly by him. The thing is, though, they're winning games without Paul George right now, who's missing almost 4 weeks with an elbow injury. They're middle of the West. If you're middle of the West right now without your two best players, like, that's impressive. Like, that's a testament to Reggie Jackson. That's a testament to Terrence Mann. That's the thing. The depth on this team is bad. The depth on this team is really bad.
Middle of the West is not what it used to mean.
They're
ninth
for
place.
Sure.
They have a losing record.
But you're also missing Kawhi and Paul George. That's the thing I'm saying. Like, if the playoffs started today.
But they were middle of the West with Paul George. Let's just make that clear. They were not top 6 when Paul was playing.
And you added Kawhi in there, who right now, like, that was kind of the difference maker when, like, they play. Dallas seems to be their weird, like, playoff matchup that they always get. And it's like, they have a guy. They have 2 guys they can put on Luka, right? With just Paul George, obviously you're putting a lot on Paul George to guard a guy like Luka in the playoffs. And this is not a playoff preview, but I'm just using that as an example. If you get Kawhi back for, like, it would be round 1, I guess, right? Like, it would be quickly. It would be right there at the beginning of April. So I'm just not sure.
I mean, the season's still going in April till midway
Or
through.
May, yeah. I guess it would be late April, early May. But
that's what's weird. I was thinking he was going to return like at the beginning of the playoffs, maybe, and be kind of limited, but be there.
Yeah, that's what
maybe
I was thinking
he's
too.
returning earlier because if he doesn't, the Clippers aren't making the playoffs.
But why would he do that though? Having another full contract year. That's the part I'm struggling with.
I mean, if he's ready to go, he's ready to go.
Oh no, look, if he is, get him in there.
I don't know what to tell you.
I'm just not sure that 2 weeks of game
the stuff in San Antonio was clearly more than the injury.
More than the injury. That's the part I had to talk myself out of. I was like, well, he was on the way out. He was trying to be. Was it worse than we thought? Nah, probably not. It probably was fine by like the normal timetable. So we kind of already addressed it, but like if Kawhi comes back healthy for the playoffs, assuming he just goes right in, let's say we give him let's say he goes into game shape and plays like 10 games, maybe a week and a half, whatever it may be, right there before the playoffs. If he comes back healthy, 90% of himself is what I would call healthy from an ACL or something like that. Are they a title contender immediately?
No.
Tell me more. It's the depth of that roster.
Unless he comes back in March, they are going to be playing in the play-in. And that is such a fluky situation. A single game play, like it's such a fluky situation. I'm not going to call anybody outside the top 6 title contender right now.
Yeah, there's just I just don't see an avenue where when we talked about it with the Lakers,
he could play well and they lose the game and then they're out. Bye.
Right. Yeah, and it was worth it for nothing. That's the problem there. It's like that's the why I'm saying like, is it really even worth coming back? I think the key is if Paul George can somehow, some way drag him into the 6, but I just don't see it. Like there's too many teams ahead of him that are better. Memphis right now is better.
Denver's in that 6. Denver's who you'd have to catch.
Denver's better. Period.
Yes, I agree.
Denver's better.
All Memphis 6 teams that are there are better. Memphis is way beyond where LAC is right now.
Yeah. And
it's time we start talking about Memphis as clearly the number 4 team in the Western Conference.
Yeah. And I have a feeling that will probably happen within the next 30 days because if they stay on this run right into the All-Star break, they're probably our best story right there in the first week of February. It's the Paul George thing. Like it's the elbow's only 4 weeks, but this is a guy that we've seen that can get hurt in weird spots in the year and can really make or break your season. And as I've told you last week and the week before, I believe, is I'm a big proponent of you set yourself up for April in January. It sounds ridiculous, but when you look at an NBA season, we're back to a standard normal NBA schedule, minus the back, games in the same city thing. I like it, but we're back to a quote normal schedule. And when you win from Christmas Day to basically All-Star break, that is where teams that are good and are going to try to make runs to the playoffs, a la the Atlanta Hawks last year. There were a little bit of that, they caught fire after the All-Star break, but still, you win meaningful games now when you don't have Paul George and Kawhi. It's hard to do without one of those 2 guys. I mean, you have to win these games now by, like you said, with the play-in thing, with that one and done. Like if you're in the 7, like you can't be doing that now. You can't be fighting yourself in playing Denver, who's going to get Jamal Murray back, by the way. Throw a wrench in that entire playoff seeding, oh, cool. Jokic is single-handedly talking about dragging teams. He is just putting them in a bag and just throwing them over his shoulder. And he is just taking them to the promised land in the playoffs right now. And you can't do that without Paul George, obviously, on the other side. So yeah, it's a very interesting and weird situation. If you're a Clippers fan, if you're, Steve Ballmer, if you're anybody in that organization, you're excited that there's even a possibility you get him this year. Because I think all of us thought we're seeing Kawhi beginning of next season. I really thought we did. I thought we were all in agreement on that. And all of a sudden it's completely and utterly changed shape. So
all speculation at this point, and we'll cover it more when Kawhi comes back, which will be, we have no idea. Hey, it's January. January means for basketball, conference play has started in college basketball. Everyone has passed their non-conference. It is firmly conference play season. And we thought we'd look at kind of where we were at to start everything. And I think where I wanted to start things is that we are now left with just 2 undefeated teams in college basketball. So to give shout outs to the number 1 overall ranked Baylor Bears, the defending national champions that now look like the favorites to repeat as national champions, and making it to their highest ranking since 1974, the University of Southern California Trojans are 5th in the country and 13-0. Any small caveat for why they're fifth, meaning the only other undefeated team, is they have yet to play a ranked basketball team this season. However, they do have Arizona and UCLA on the schedule in the coming weeks. Trevor, what's your immediate reaction to our undefeated teams, kind of where basketball stands right now? The fact that only one team in the ACC is ranked, which is just bizarre.
Oh, the ACC
like that all season.
If you want my literal first takeaway, ACC is terrible.
Where does that put
the USC thing? Moving on. I don't know if I have like a first reaction for you. I really am disappointed that Colorado State couldn't pull it off the other night against San Diego State, because they, up until that point, were the third of those undefeated teams. Colorado State, who was kind of a scary team last year in the tournament. I'm just giving a shout out to a really awesome Western school. So, hey, I mean, we may not hear from them again until the tournament, but the USC thing, you can't overlook the fact they've played no one, but they will completely and utterly be proven right or wrong in about a month. They play Arizona, they play UCLA, like you said. And they have a couple other, you have to play Oregon, who's always going to fight hard in the back. I'm not touching the ACC thing with a 20-foot pole. What I'll tell you, though, is I think I did mine a little bit differently. Like, we're going to look at the top 25. There's a lot to break down here. I did mine a little bit from this perspective of, there's a couple things that we definitely got wrong. Now, with college, obviously, these opinions from January and October are going to be completely different. And then January, March are going to be different. But like, Michigan State has kind of proven us wrong a little bit. Like, we've kind of overlooked them as like the four teams that played on opening night. And we were kind of like, Michigan State. They were kind of that one where we gave them like 30 seconds, and now they're 10th. They're playing meaningful basketball in January, and in March Madness and college basketball. We know that means utterly nothing if you can't play meaningful basketball in March. The Michigan State thing, it is what it is. Yeah, I think that's my initial takeaway is Michigan State is looking really, really good.
And to be fair, what's going to be interesting, a very loaded Big Ten. Other ranked teams in the Big Ten, you've got Illinois there at 25, Ohio State at 16, Wisconsin at 13, and of course, Purdue at number 7, the highest ranked team in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I believe I said this. I think we haven't done College Hoops Corner in a few weeks, but I believe I mentioned something. It was either on the show or to you at some point where it was like, I think Big Ten right now has 9 teams that were in Joe Lunardi's like first edition of bracketology. So it was kind of like, no shocker. We know Big Ten's going to be good. I think Illinois is a kind of a fun one. They're not anywhere. They are 25. I did not realize that till just now. They got bumped in. Yeah, Kofi Cover's playing like a top 5 pick right now. It's unbelievable how well he's playing. Top 3 scorer in the entire country. But
except he's like 22, so he's not going to be.
Yeah, but look, I wanted to give him fair praise. We're going to eventually do some more draft stuff as it gets closer. Obviously, there's a lot to unpack. A lot of friends in the space that we want to just chop it up with about the draft. But the college part of it is the part where there's a lot of good guys this year. There's a lot of these like junior, senior, like just tearing it up, as there always is. But like, those guys are going to make those differences later. One thing I wanted to address with you, as well as you mentioned like some of this, you mentioned the USC thing. They're undefeated. They've played 13 games, right? But you look at some teams around them, and I think this is going to matter. I'll tell you why I'm bringing this up. Your number 3 team, UCLA, who's in their conference, has played 10 games or 11 games. Like, teams have missed a chunk here. Like, we were stripped of a lot of good matchups here in the early part of the season. Not regardless of the matchup. Gonzaga's played 14. Baylor's played the full 15-0. Like, I'm looking at a little further. It looks like a lot of the Pac-12. Arizona's 12-1. Duke missed 2 games, I believe it was. There's just a couple where you're like, I hope that lack of, and they were big matchups where these teams could have learned for themselves, like, or learned about themselves, or learned how they were going to play better and learn from those matchups. But there's just a lot of teams that haven't played a lot, the full strength of schedule. So I hope that doesn't matter later, because obviously in March, you want to know what you're made of. But this is a loaded top 25. I feel like this year is just, yes, you have your Baylors of the world, but like, I'll be honest with you, there's about, I think the top 15 honestly can win the national title. I think it's one of those years where it's like, and I'm going to say 17 to take credit on Xavier, who's 12-2, but the top 17 right now can win the national title. It's unbelievable to say that, but yeah, we were wrong on the Big East too. I think that's another thing. It's Villanova, we think, and everyone else, like we kind of thought coming into it, but that's another takeaway I wanted to chop up with you is the Big East has more ranked teams than the ACC right now.
Dude, almost everyone has more ranked teams than the ACC right now.
Someone has to be picked on. And unfortunately for us, it's the ACC right now. But the Big East looks good. It really does. I think the fact that UConn's not even like a thought right now, and Xavier, Villanova, obviously they're none in the top, but we're still top 25. Xavier, Villanova, Seton Hall, Providence. Providence finally got some respect. What did I say 3 weeks ago? Give Providence some respect. They finally got it. They're 23rd.
Yeah, it's interesting. Things have not exactly played how we thought they would, which is kind of your standard fare for college basketball. What has shocked me the most, and I'm just going to go back to it, and I know that you harp on the team that's number one. We thought Baylor wasn't going to be like this anymore because we're like, okay, yeah, they did great. They were up there, but they lost Davion Mitchell. They lost their big stars. They're not going to bounce back like that. They bounce back like that. They've been ripping through teams, and you talked about Michigan State. Like, they beat Michigan State by 17 early in the season of a team that's up there. They beat Nova in kind of an ugly game where Villanova only scored 36 points. And recently on New Year's Day, picked up the win over Iowa State, who at the time was 8th in the country. I believe they've fallen down to 15 following their loss to Baylor. But, I mean, the Bears look good. It's one of those different years. There's a lot more parity in college basketball than there has been in the past. This is not the years of the ACC, which I think is better than they're given credit for because they're not being given any credit at all right now.
They're not. Funny you say that. Miami, who beat Duke yesterday, is unranked. Or 2 days ago, I think it was Saturday. Unranked.
They are 28th if you count the others receiving votes because they received 65 votes.
They're the best team in the ACC record-wise right now. It's crazy. Like they've beaten ACC. I think they're 5-0 in the ACC right now. By definition, I have a friend who's a Miami fan, so he's texting me all the time, and he sent me a screenshot of the score after they won, and he was like, "Rank these boys. What is going on?" I'm like, "Dude, they deserve it." I was very honest with him. I was like, "They will be ranked," and they're not. No. That was my 3 seconds on Miami. Shout out to my boy Marcel.
And Duke only falls to 8.
Yeah, I can't. This is the part of the season where I have
that's probably the Duke bias if we're going to be fair. Like there's a Duke bias.
It is
very clear Duke bias. There always is.
Yeah, there is. But it's this time of year with the rankings where I just leave it alone. Like I don't say too many things about too many.
I can't wait for the first net ranking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or when then the committee hits us with their top 16.
Well, so you mentioned HC getting completely and utterly no credit. I mean, they're not, right? But we've went over everything that I already had. I bullet pointed. Conference play was heating up. Miami looks awesome. Michigan State proved us wrong, and the Big East is a lot of fun. But yeah, it's one of those things where you just look at the top 10 and you go, there's about 3 of these teams that I'm just going to not trust in 2.5 months. Now, do we want to address who they are right now? I don't want to make 3 big fan bases.
You're not
really
going to trust in 2 months, you said?
2 months. It was March. Yeah. There's about 3 teams I'm going to pluck out and go, sorry, you're not going to be a team that I'm scared of in March. Do I want to make a lot of fan bases mad right now? No, we'll save it. Oh, really? I'm just not sure Arizona's going to do it. I'm just not sure Kansas is what we think they are. Kansas is talking about playing no one. Kansas has played no one. They played Michigan State, to be fair, who's right behind them. And then, look, we'll address draft stuff when we get to draft stuff. We'll have some draft content. I love Jabari Smith. I'm just not sure I think Auburn's slightly overrated. Slightly overranked. Sorry, not overrated, overranked. I think Auburn's a little bit of the press sees Auburn now and they go, that was the team we thought Alabama was going to be, right? It's the Alabama.
It was the LSU win, right?
Yeah, but the SEC's been
and the Walker Kessler factor, which
yeah, crazy, right? Top lottery or like a lottery / late first round guy right now, which is nuts. But it's the Tennessee, the Alabama who slipped down to 24. Alabama's I called that. I said that they were going to play big teams and win those games. They're going to lose these stupid ones, and they did. And it's but they are one of those teams too. Like I mentioned the Xavier thing about the guards. I was like, how heavily, you mentioned the guard play and how important that is and why Baylor's so good, why Baylor won the national title, why I think Xavier can. Alabama, though, has 3 to 4-ish, 5 good guards that can win you games at any point in March, obviously with the right coach as well. So they're a team that, like, right now, 24 looks ugly for what we thought they were going to be, but they'll be able to play up to people. Like, that's what they'll be. I'm just not sure they're a Final Four team, but obviously that wasn't a top 10 team. That's not my point. So, I mean, I tried to keep it simple with you. There was like 3 big things that stared me in the face, and I went through all of them. And this top 25 is loaded, man. Like, college basketball just feels such an even playing field. And I know you're like, it's not March. I get it. Like, it feels like March. The top 25 feels like, if you put these teams right now, like right now, I'll give you an example. Rank your best judgment of how much you know college basketball over the last 10 to 15 years. Where does Texas get ranked right now if the season ends? Texas is 21 at 12-3, and they've lost to like 3 teams. They lost to OK State, by the way, who are 7-5.
Well, if you base it off of, well, since the AP isn't there, that matters.
Your opinion, I guess, but I'm using that as like the example. They're there for a reason, for some reason.
Like a 6, maybe.
Texas should not be a 6 is my point. Texas should be better than that. Like, and the fact that they'd be thrown in as a 6 right this moment, there's a lot left to be played. Like, there's a lot that's going to change. Texas might be worse than a 6 for the end of the year at this rate they're going. But that's my example. Like, you're telling me right now, if the season ends, Texas is a 6, like, they're better than a 6, and they're 21st. Like, that's just crazy. It's crazy. So
we found that the best basketball team in Texas is still Baylor. So that's what everyone thought it was going to be Texas this year. It was not.
We know that. Also,
got Drew factor bigger than the Chris Beard factor.
You did this earlier with the Miami thing. I am going to do this as well for the others that are worthy of being mentioned. Just outside receiving votes, there was a big gap, though. Illinois had the most votes for the 25th. Oklahoma, Loyola Chicago were just behind them. Miami, West Virginia, who's got a big matchup coming up on Sunday against Kansas.
I can't wait for that Loyola Chicago train in March again. You're going to ride that thing
3 years in a row. Or 3 years in total. It's like, I'm sick of it. Connecticut or UConn, I mentioned, like, not really being a thought, but they are getting 17 votes. Indiana, Colorado State, shout out to the Rams, San Diego State, Davidson, BYU, Iowa, and San Francisco. All worth being mentioned. College basketball has been a lot of fun. A lot of big-time players and big-time draft spots that are playing in places that we might not have expected them to play in a lot of smaller markets. So it's going to be fun come draft time. I'm excited to pluck all of these wrong takes in a few months and really just go, college basketball in January, Josh. What are we going to do? I'm ready to do some trivia. That's what I'm ready for. I'm down too much, and I need to claw my way back.
To do some trivia?
Probably not. Based on what you told me before we recorded, I probably not. But I am excited. It's always true.
I think this is going to be fun. And like you said, it's a relaxed episode.
Of course,
this might, based on your knowledge that you've told me in the past of like random Sporkle quizzes, this may be right up your alley in the NBA. As far as I know, but really all of this comes down to is it was a cool piece of trivia that was done when I was watching the Hornets-Bucks game. It was just a cool piece of trivia that was thrown out there.
I have to name every Hornets head coach in history. Got it. Here we go. Lovely.
And so the piece of trivia was, between the Hornets-Bucks game, the longest names in NBA history. And I thought it was some of the funniest things that they brought up in the game about the players who have the longest names in NBA history. That's why I needed to mention the Hornets-Bucks game, because here's your big hint. The Hornets-Bucks games had multiple of the top 10 longest names in NBA history in that game. Multiple of the top 10 longest names in NBA history were in just the Hornets-Bucks game. So what I have for you is the 12 longest names in NBA history. I didn't, because there was a tie at 9. There was a 4-way tie at number 9. So I couldn't do top 10. So we're just going to have all the way out to 12. You'll get 18 guesses. If you just need to get 4. Each 4 you get is a point. Get 18 guesses. I want to stress this before we get into it. This is whatever the name is that the player is announced as when they're playing. So, my example to point it out, Emeka Okafor's real name is like Chukwumeka Okafor. However, he does not go by that. He just goes by Emeka Okafor. And so that would be the name. Hyphenated names also count. So like a Michael Kidd Gilchrist, every one of those characters would count in that name.
He's not on this list, I'm assuming, because you said it.
Yes, no, he is not. I did not. I was actually an example that is not on the list.
The listeners don't know this because we're in the process of getting some visual stuff started. But I write down the moment Josh says the question while he's explaining it. I write as many names as humanly possible, so my brain does not forget them. And Michael Kidd Gilchrist is on this piece of paper I'm holding up, and I'm so glad you clarified that because I feel so much better now.
So there are awesome. 12 names. Hyphenated names are allowed if that's the name. The hyphen does not count as a character. And another thing I want to point out, I will not give you any hints that involve telling you how many letters that the players on the list name have, because then you could keep from getting the guesses wrong by counting.
No, because I wouldn't have gone that with it. I wouldn't have gone there with it. That wouldn't have helped.
But there are 12. I think it's really fun. 2 of them were actively playing in the Hornets-Bucks game on Saturday night.
See, that's I can't figure that out, but I'll think about it.
So,
jeez.
Yeah, I think it's very this should be very doable to do a point. These are players that you know. Like there are at least 4, probably 8 of these players you know.
So there's not like your fourth stringer.
Most of this list is not super obscure. Most of it's pretty mainstream. Some of it's a little obscure.
Like there's no 78 Blazers retired jerseys on here. Like
I don't
none
think
of that.
So.
None of that crap is my point.
Okay. There's a lot of names there are a lot of players in the NBA right now.
The history part is what I have to I'm gonna have to break this down because we'll go through it. So I have one question before I technically begin. Are there duplicates?
What do you mean?
As in, there are some players with long names who have siblings or relatives that also have really long names. Are there duplicates? I have to know if there's duplicates or not. That's going to kill me. I guess you can't say that though because that might give away guesses multiple times. Okay, never mind. I'll move on. I'll start it as I get 18 guesses. Keep track of my guesses, please. I'm going to go ahead and go with probably the most obvious one because he played last night or Saturday, whatever day it was. His nickname is the Alphabet. Giannis Antetokounmpo is probably top 2 on this list, and he's probably not 2.
So Giannis just misses the cutoff for this list.
I'm not doing it.
That's
I'm not walking away.
That's funny. Giannis is just outside the top 12. He's in a tie. Yeah, just outside the top 12. So Giannis is not quite on the list of Giannis Antetokounmpo. That tells you how long of names we're talking here. But no, Giannis is incorrect. I'm sorry, but that was just always a guess that was going to happen. You kick yourself if it was right. You didn't say it.
I don't know if I hate you or the question. That's the problem. No. So my question for you then is, what is my point system here? I get 18 guesses, which means obviously there's a tier system.
You get a point for every 4 you get right. There are 12.
Okay, I don't know. I might not have caught that. Okay, so Giannis. So that answers my duplicate question because Thanasis has, and this is not a guess, Thanasis has the same amount of letters as Giannis. And they have the same last name. So my guess would be him and Thanasis are tied for 12th. It would be my guess if you could, maybe you'll give me a clue there. But Thanasis, I'm pretty sure, is the same or close to Giannis. And if it's by one character, I'm going to backflip off of this desk. But can I tell you my problem?
Are you going to take the time to sit there and count?
No, probably not. No,
I'm not. Be nice. I'm going to suggest that you count how many letters are in Giannis and how many letters are in Thanasis.
Okay.
I'm going to be nice and suggest that you count that right now.
Did I just put myself on blast for how bad
I want you to count right now how many letters are Giannis and how many are.
Well, I need to make sure I know how to spell it. So I'm looking up Giannis and then his brother. I'm looking Giannis up. You know what's crazy? I actually know how to spell Antetokounmpo without looking. It's one of those things that I'm just
so do I.
Thrilled about. I never thought I'd be thrilled about, but I'm thrilled about. All right. So Giannis Antetokounmpo brother. I'm just because I don't remember. All right. Oh, there are. Okay. Okay. Thanasis Antetokounmpo is a guess.
Congratulations, you got one right because I just couldn't let you keep going. Thanasis Antetokounmpo is one of the top 12 longest names in NBA history. He is, I believe, it's hard. There are a lot of ties in this top 12, so it's hard for me to say exactly where they are. But yeah, you got one right of your two guesses.
So that's like, it's like close to 18 for their name. That's the, see, I'm not going to count it out because now I know it's a baseline of somewhere near 18. Like I was going to eventually figure that out, but this might be an utter failure. Like I'm scared. I'm nervous.
You need to do some more counting.
Well, it's close. I'm saying it's close to that. I'm not going to, I thought you said not to do that. So here, all right, I'm going to do it. I said close. I said 18. It was 20. It was in that range. All right. So that eliminated a guess for me because I didn't get far. I'll be honest. The Michael Kidd, like that should have been there. Michael Kidd, Gilchrist with the these hyphens didn't count. So that was one up there for me. Meta World Peace was one up there for me. And as soon as I realized that if Giannis wasn't on there, then Meta World Peace is not on there because that's 5, 5, and 5. We have a problem. I don't know where I'm going with this.
I gave you a hint at the beginning. Hyphenated names are in there. You just need to think of some hyphenated names.
Yeah, but like, okay, I'm trying to think.
The hyphen itself doesn't count, but all of the characters do. Okay,
so you said that these are guys that I should know too, like Hall of Famers, etc. Like there should be some guys.
No, I didn't say Hall of Famers. I never said anything about them.
Okay,
I never said the word Hall of Famers.
Okay, all right. Not that.
I said there are a lot of current players.
Oh, there are. Okay.
There are a handful of current players. I wouldn't say a lot.
So let's talk this out here. Let's go through. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to get the obvious one that might, because I've watched the most NBA this year, obviously, than I have. I can remember this year more than I can remember 5 to 10 years in the past. I'm trying to think of guys that would have played either on the Bucks or on your Hornets, who I've watched a surprisingly amount of.
Don't get too hung up on that.
Oh no.
The Bucks Hornets thing was a connection to for me to make a connection.
You said there was two. You said there was 2 people in that game.
I don't expect you to get the other one. Unless you watched the Bucks Hornets game on Saturday, I don't expect you to get the other one.
We're in that era with the COVID. A lot of people playing
the 10-day.
Right. Okay. I'm just gonna start throwing because I have 18 guesses. I am going to go for 1 point at this point. That's how bad I feel about this. So I'm going to look up the first name of a guy that I know his last name because I can't figure it out. Okay.
Just don't look up long names.
I'm not. This guy was drafted in the last couple of years, and I can't remember his first name. And it was okay. Georgios Papagiannis. He played for the Kings. If he's on that list, you don't have to.
I don't have him on my list, but I'm going to check it to see.
Let's do that because he is a long name, and it might not be 20. I get it, or 20 or more, or whatever. But Georgios Papagiannis is his name. People are going to. He was drafted in 2016, by the way. People are going to think I'm nuts for getting that one. 7'2.5".
So Georgios Papagiannis is not there.
It's all right. It was a shot in the dark. I'm
trying to think of any more. Didn't quite cut it.
Trying to think of any more Greek players. That's probably how bad this question is. Do you have any hint remotely for me? Is there anything that am I just being an idiot?
Hyphenated names. I can't you tell me to go for these hyphenated names.
I can't think of any current hyphenated names. That's the current thing is killing me. I can't think of any. All right, here we go. I'm gonna look up NBA teams because that's gonna help me. We've both done that before. I'm just gonna look at literally same thing I've looked at before. The teams on Google.
Teams.
We've done that before.
Got it.
Oh no, we've looked at the teams list before because it'll jog my memory if I'm just dead forgetting somebody. Because I'm trying to roll. Because the fact that Giannis is not is what is killing me. That's the part where that's question. You probably giggled so hard at that because you were like, A, that's hilarious, and B, he's screwed tomorrow. That's exactly.
It's interesting. So when I was watching the Bucks Hornets game, I'm kind of talk for a fun fact while you're listening. When they pulled up the list, Giannis was on it. When I did more research, I found out Giannis is actually not as high as they had him there. because the stat that they did on the show wasn't that accurate. What they did was 6 players who didn't have hyphenated names. So that part, even that actually wasn't that accurate. Yeah, they were just a little bit off with it, but I thought it was a cool concept to run with.
Do you feel like your hyphenated thing made it easier or harder?
Easier.
Just a genuine question. Okay, it did. Yeah. All right, it made it easier. I'm trying to think all time. That's the thing, because I have this weird knowledge of like names all time, and I'm just trying to like tie them together in some form or fashion. But you're telling me hyphenated and current, and I'll be honest with you, I'm looking, and I'm grade A struggling. Like this is bad. Like this is really bad.
I know a couple of our friends that listen to this podcast are just screaming at you. Listen to you do this.
Oh, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner.
Oh, man.
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
The hint confirmed it for me. Like somebody we know, fan of the show. Like that clicked, but like I also saw the thunder as you said that. And I was like,
same number of letters as Thanasis Antetokounmpo in his name.
He's not more? Oh no, I am in trouble. If he's not more, I am in trouble. Okay. Can you give me all right, this won't help me at any point get a name. Can you tell me how many current and how many not current? Like actively playing.
I might have to check a couple players.
While you're doing that, like actively, like if they played this year, like I know this year's kind of crazy, but like just actively, if they played this year, I'm going to be fine.
Of the players you have left, which you have 10 left, 5 are active, 5 are inactive.
Oh, that actually is okay. So that gives me time to really break down both sides of it. That's good. I'm also glad we.
I believe. Let me double check a couple names.
It's fine. It's close enough. That's 50-50 is actually pretty good. Herein lies the problem, though. It took me all the way to the Thunder to figure that out. Oh, geez. Okay. Trying to think of like all-star ballots right now. I'm trying to think of like, guys like just off the starting lineups for some of these teams. Trying to think of teams that have a lot of presence of international guys, like obviously like a guy like Kristaps. His name isn't long enough, but he's an example.
Yeah, I think I was right. 5 and 5.
Yep. Toronto has a lot of guys. How many letters are in Bogdanovich? Let's see. That's always a fun one. Like Bog. I'm actually going to do this. Bog. This might be for nothing. Bogdanovich. Nah. Bogdan's not on there. I hope. Philly, no. Dallas. Oh. It's the hyphenated name thing that helped me, I think. No. See, if 20's now that I know 20 is the bottom of the list, I at least know not to throw stupid guesses. Like I'm trying to really, but like the thing, I don't know if that actually made it harder though. Because I would have just guessed and I would have just been like, all right, cool. I have plenty of guesses. I told you I'm getting to 4. Like that's my goal.
Trying to get you caught up here by giving you, because I kind of have given you a way to not throw stupid guesses.
That's fine. No,
unless you count wrong.
I'll give you an example. Well, no, I mean, I could count.
To recap for listeners, I lead 6-2 entering this.
Yeah, we somehow forgot to mention that. Well, it's like that. Dorian Finney-Smith should be, but he's not, because Dorian and Smith are shorter than Finney. Even they're all 6 and less. So it's like,
is that a guess?
It can be. I have so many. Just Dorian Finney-Smith. Maybe I miscounted. There's no way I don't. He's not on there. I'm not. I know it.
No.
It's a good guess, though. It's a good guess. It's a hyphenated name.
Not a bad guess. Yeah. Not a bad guess.
Now I'm going to be just, if there's any Lakers on this list, I'm going to be angry at myself.
If there's what?
If there's any Lakers. Like I'm looking at the Lakers going, okay, like my team, I'm like, are there? I
don't think there are any current Lakers on this list.
Well, I mean, whatever.
Former Lakers? Definitely. Current, no.
Definitely? There is
a former Laker on this
list. Okay.
Former Laker on this list who has, based on the list I have, second longest name in NBA history, tied for the second longest name in NBA history.
You know what's nuts is Kareem's not on this list. Now that I know the baseline number, I almost guessed Kareem.
That was a trick.
That was a trick, and I like it.
No, I'm not tricking you. The player with the second longest name in NBA history
He's a Laker.
was a Laker, tied for the second in NBA history. Was a Laker, is on this list. Was a Laker in the past. I'm
That
giving no
hurts.
indication of whether he plays anymore or not.
You said he didn't. You already said that.
I said he played for the Lakers. That does not mean that he's retired. It could be. Could not.
That's lovely. That's lovely. Okay. So it's geez. Okay. Dude, I'm so glad we left enough time for this segment, and B, I am not far from my I need 2 more, right?
Yep. To score a point, which you have not done in a long time.
Yeah, we're talking like almost 2 months. I'm backed up against the wall, I'll be honest with you. Like I'm asking for any plea of mercy, because there's not a team like the Shea one jumped out because it clicked when I saw the Thunder, but like I am thinking top 7 to 8 guys on a team, every single team, and no name actively is popping out. That's my problem. And if Papa Giannis is not on here, like that, like it's gonna be hard. I'm not gonna be able to do this. I'm really genuinely like hard on myself, but like, dude, like I think of the last name and I go, okay, like Frank Kaminsky. Well, Frank is not a long first name, but Kaminsky is. Like it. Man, you have outdone yourself.
Hyphenated names.
I'll tell you this. Last
He's
year,
trying to steer you away from these long last names. Hyphenated names.
But that's the thing.
So they essentially get 3 names. That's the big thing here.
I'm not sure I know any hyphenated names actively right now that are like, are there all stars that have hyphenated games that I'm forgetting?
You're not looking for all stars, man. You're looking for.
Oh, that's bad.
The only big name player you got was Shea.
Oh, that's bad. Okay. Dude, the Spurs have to have someone. It's just the most Spurs thing, right? No?
That's a reaction to you saying the Spurs have to have someone. That's no indication of what the answer
is. Greg Popovich, final answer. No. How many vowels are in Popovich? I don't know. Let's see.
3, I think.
Oh gosh, the Atlanta Hawks. Oh, I'm just, dude, this is bad. This is really bad. This is like back against.
It's just so bad. Like I honestly don't know what to tell you at this point.
Like there's not even like a haphazard hint that you could be like, this guy, but like no, there's nothing. I don't know how you hit this. I really don't. I will say, I'll give you credit for something though. I'll tell you this. You've really outdone yourself, because I last year you had a couple weeks where it just felt lazy on your questions, and they just get better every week, and it makes it harder for me because it's 6-2. No, there was a couple weeks where it was like both of us where we were like, top 25 this stat. Like,
yeah,
it was like
you can still kind of do that.
But yeah, sometimes it happens, you know. Unless you've got one like, you know, just get my brain jogging hint. This might be my tap out moment. As crazy as that sounds. Like I'm looking at one more time through like every team, and I'm going like Philly, Los Angeles, both Los Angeles, Boston. All these lineups have short name guys. Like Junior, like Jaren Jackson Jr. doesn't spell out Junior, Junior. He doesn't do that. And I don't think that would even be, it wouldn't even be long enough. That's the part that's freaking me out.
All right. I'm going to give you what I think is a major hint, because I want this segment to actually be some fun and not me just listing the names out, sadly.
That's fine. Because
I'm going to name
55 minutes.
Teams that the active players play for.
Okay. That'll at least give
you
me
are not
the
allowed
target.
to make it rostered.
No big deal. No big deal. No big deal.
But I'm just verifying I know what teams they play for.
All right. Yeah, I love how this 30-minute pre-trivia thing turned into a like almost an hour now total. Oh, I love it. Love it, love it, love it. The no All-Stars thing, while you're looking that up, the no All-Stars thing is tripping me, because I'm like, I know I can take the tier.
I don't think any of them are All-Stars.
Or this year, I mean, even like.
No.
Yeah, no, I'm just like thinking guys this year that are like high-level play. I feel like the Warriors.
Okay. The 5 teams that these long name players currently play on, these are players that you have not guessed yet.
Okay.
The Washington Wizards, the New Orleans Pelicans, the Orlando Magic, the Atlanta Hawks, and the Milwaukee Bucks.
all teams that I'm not joking, I looked at multiple times and went, they probably have one, and I am not going to think too hard about it. 4 of those teams I thought about multiple minutes. The Pels were the one there was no way I was going there. That roster is abysmal.
That's one of the players.
Yeah, that guy is going to stay off this list because I don't know. The Wizards, dude. Oh, wait. I think I just traded for this guy in fantasy. Hold on. Wait. Hold on. It's the letter count thing. Still short. Spencer Dinwiddie is not that long. It sounds so long, but Dinwiddie's not that long. Dang it. Okay. All right. Wiz are out. Who's like the backup? Tomas Satoransky. No, I'm pretty sure he's in Chicago now. The Magic. Jonathan Isaac. He doesn't.
The Magic is a lane you want to go down when you don't want to go down the Orlando lane. I mean, the New Orleans lane.
Yeah, true. Atlanta though. Atlanta's been this old folks home this year. Like they had so many dudes because of COVID and stuff. Oh gosh. Clint Capella, John Collins, Danilo Gallinari. No, dang it. This is bad. Trae Young. No, this is bad. I will fully. No. Okay. The Bucks. Is there a third? Is there a third Antetokounmpo brother? Is there a third Antetokounmpo brother that I'm just not getting? Like I don't.
You have made 5 guesses so far.
Yeah, that's probably how many I'm going to end up making.
It's bad. Really, I had a lot of hope for this segment.
Oh, it's a great. No, I'm not discrediting the question. It's a great question. I am discrediting my own understanding of the fact that half of this list currently plays right this moment. That's the part that's killing me. Yeah. I'm literally staring at the 5 names I wrote down: Wiz, Pels, Magic, Hawks, and Bucks, and I'm going nowhere with it. It's like the all-time thing is going to make me more mad too. I feel like unless they're just like 10th mans, but
what do you mean all-time thing?
The other 5, the guys that aren't playing.
Those are difficult to get.
I haven't gotten any of them, so yeah, I would assume that's correct.
The longest name in history, who is no longer a current player, fun fact, was a teammate of LeBron James.
Zydrunas Ilgauskas.
No.
That was so confident.
Well, let me look at it. I'm gonna
Zydrunas. No, Ilgauskas is not as long as you think it is. It's unfortunate that it's not. Josh, I think just for the sake of our fans, I am doing them no good by sitting here. I think unless they've Googled by now.
Hyphenated names.
I can't think of any. I just went through all 10 players that I know on those teams and I went, am I missing any? Like hyphenated Wizards. Like Thomas Bryant, not hyphenated. Spencer Dinwiddie, Kyle Kuzma. I don't know. The Bucks thing. Is there a third? Is there a third Giannis on this list? A third Antetokounmpo? On this list. I'm sorry, you're holding it in. I know what you're doing. You're like holding it together. The Wizards. Like, am I beating around the bush of the Wizards? It's there. Oh gosh, I'm so bad.
You're gonna be so pissed.
It's even funny. I watched a Wizards game like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of tweets from Shams and Woj. This player has entered. I'm trying to think of Woj and Shams tweets. This player has entered health and safety protocols. This hyphenated name has entered health and safety protocols. I think the loser of trivia this year has to hyphenate a loser after their last name.
For every loser.
I think that's where we're headed. Gosh. Okay. No, I did. Look, I think I've done enough. Disgrace to this question. Unfortunately, unless something jumps out on the page literally from the Pelicans or something, I think I'm done. I think this is unfortunately a tap out moment for me. I really do.
I really want you to get there, but there's nothing else I can do outside of naming the
No,
players.
you've given me the teams. That's enough.
I've been trying my hardest.
Are we going backwards or are we going forwards with this?
We're going to go backwards on this list because it's more fun when we get closer to the top.
It's fun.
So in the bottom 12, so looking at some names that are on the outside.
Who just missed the top? Who just missed it?
I didn't look at that.
Oh,
Giannis just missed the top.
Okay.
There's probably a lot of guys who tie Giannis with 19
Probably.
Giannis has 19. Thanasis was 21. So it shows where the difference made.
Oh, I miscounted that. I miscounted.
Thanasis has 8 letters and Giannis has 6.
Yeah.
So the only American with a non-hyphenated name on this list is Clarence Weatherspoon, one of the older players. So that's number 12. At 11, we have Alexander Georgievich, another old player I didn't expect you to get correct. 10 is Michael Ray Richardson. 3 names, another one of the older players. Started getting interesting. The Milwaukee player that I didn't want you to go after because he's on a 2-way contract. It's called up for Milwaukee, but it's why it was kind of fun in the name. Sandro Mamukelashvili played and did really well for Milwaukee in the game against the Hornets the other night.
You Googled how to pronounce that. Don't lie to me.
No, I heard them pronounce it on the game, dude.
Okay.
Sandro Mamukelashvili.
No, I just had one come to me. I'm so mad. I just had one come to me.
We'll get there.
Oh, God.
So he was number 9. 8 was Thanasis Antetokounmpo. 7 was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The top 6. The Atlanta Hawk. Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot.
I even mentioned TLC the other week, and I said, if you know, you know, because I didn't want to pronounce it wrong, because I know TLC's abbreviation. Dang it. Someone
there are a few guys on here that we abbreviate their names instead of saying them all out.
Clearly.
Okay, on to the top 5. This player played in the NBA last year, but is actually playing over in Turkey this year. Rondae Hollis-Jefferson. He plays for Besiktas currently. Top 4 for the Orlando Magic. He's been there for 3 years. Is Michael Carter Williams, MCW. 22 letters in his name. 3rd on the New Orleans Pelicans. He's actually a player that you think has a bright future. Is Nickeil Alexander-Walker. 22 letters in his name. Tied for 22 with the second longest name in NBA history, the former Los Angeles Laker last year and current Washington Wizard, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. How do you feel?
That this team is
Kentavious Caldwell-Pope.
This is literally
Lakers for quite a while.
This quality of level roster is literally that of the Thunder. It's Shai Gilgeous and everyone else. This is literally just the Thunder.
When did I ever tell you it was a good quality roster?
I can't think of guys that are this bad. I can't think of
Caldwell-Pope, a guy who's solidly in the Wizards rotation.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
He was a Laker.
Who's the one? Is number 1 going to hurt? Is this one going to hurt?
No, really? I don't think you would.
Okay. Right.
Longest name in India history with 23 letters. He played with LeBron in Cleveland in 2005 and 2006. Martinez Andrews-Kavicius.
No, wasn't getting that.
No, I didn't think you would. I didn't know that one until I went researching. But the Lithuanian Andrius Kavicius, 7'2" guy, played with LeBron for 2 years in Cleveland.
I gotta work on my Lithuanians, man. I just gotta work on my Lithuanian stuff.
Or just remember, a guy that played for the Lakers last year.
The Alexander Walker one makes me madder because Shai Gilgeous, obviously they're related. It doesn't. Yeah, that hurts. Well, there won't be any walking off this segment, but there will be a disgraceful. I tried. I guess it's just I'm gonna wave a white flag. I'm gonna spend the next 7 days making sure that my next question is not top 25 in a stat of ridiculous caliber. Still funny though that you walked off because Kyrie Thomas and Meta Sanford Artest were enough for you. That was still awesome. All right, dude, that was fun. I am sick of trivia for another 7 days, as always. I'm just so mad at myself. I'm gonna go loathe and self-pity. Josh, close us out.
This has been the 2 Pointers Podcast. I'm Josh.
And I am unfortunately still down by 4 in trivia. I'm Trevor.
He is Trevor Everett Loser. And this has been the 2 Pointers Podcast. We will see you soon.